Hello everyone, welcome to today's YouTube video where I'll be working with an Arduino Uno to create a magic 8-ball using a tilt switch and an LCD. Here's a sample of what we will be achieving for this project. We will be using the tilt switch to randomize the output on the LCD. This will be when we ask the magic 8-ball a question, and it will output a random scenario or answer out of 8 options, whether that's sure, unsure, yes, no, etc. So let's get into the components that we'll need. We'll start with the Arduino Uno, or in this case an Elegoo Uno, which will be attached to a mini breadboard. We'll also use a potentiometer, which will be used to adjust the brightness on the LCD display and its text. We'll also need an LCD to output our intended answers and questions. We'll also need a variety of male-to-male jumper wires for connection. Also need a 220 ohm resistor along with a 10 kilo ohm resistor, and then lastly we will need a tilt switch, which we have connected to a male to female jumper wires. Alright, now for the assembly portion of this project. Let's start with the Elegoo Uno and the breadboard and assigning the LCD to the breadboard, so each of the LCD pins are given their own row to utilize when working with the circuit. Let's first use the Arduino or Elegoo Uno's 5-volt pin and the ground pin and assign them the positive and negative terminals on the breadboard. Now for the tilt switch on the breadboard, we're going to attach one lead to 5 volts from the breadboard terminal. And we're going to attach the other side to ground through a 10 kilo ohm resistor and to your Arduino's pin 6. This will be a digital input. Alright, next we will be utilizing the potentiometer, which will be adjusting the LCD's display brightness. The 2 ports on one end will be connected to the 5-volt and ground leads. It does not matter which one goes where, as long as those both on the correct side are given the 5 and ground terminals. And then the other pin on the other end of the potentiometer will be going to the pin 3 on the LCD, which is titled VO as an output voltage. Now the LCD wiring, we're going to go from left to right with pin 16. That will be connected to the negative terminal. And for pin 15, we could use a wire, but I'm able to just utilize the 220 ohm resistor alone. And that will be connected from pin 15, and that will go to the positive column on the breadboard of 5 volts. For pin 14 on the LCD, that will be connected to digital pin 2. For pin 13 on the LCD, that will go to digital pin 3. On LCD pin 12, that will be connected to digital pin 4. And on LCD pin 11, that will be connected to the digital pin 5 on the Arduino. So that's the left portion of the LCD that we'll be utilizing. There are some spaces in between where we won't utilize pin 10, 9, 8, and 7. But starting on the right side, we will utilize pin 1 on the LCD and connect that to ground. Pin 2 on the LCD will go to the positive 5-volt terminal as well. We already have done pin 3 for the potentiometer, but pin 4 will go to digital pin 12. Pin 5 will go to ground. And lastly, pin 6 will go to the digital pin 11 on the Arduino. Alright, so for the last portion of this video, we will be going over the IDE code of this project. First, you'll need to import the liquid crystal library. Next, you'll initialize the library and tell it what pins to use to communicate with the Uno. Now that you've set up the library, it's time to create some variables and constants. We're going to create a constant to hold the pin of the switch pin, a variable for the current state of the switch, a variable for the previous state of the switch, and one more to choose which reply the screen will show. We're going to set up the switch pin as an input with pin mode in your setup. We're going to start the LCD library and tell it how large the screen is. Now it's time to write a small introductory screen welcoming you to the Magic 8-Ball. The print function writes to the LCD. You're going to write the words "Ask Thee" on the top line of the screen. The cursor is automatically at the beginning of the top line. In order to write to the next line, you'll have to tell the screen where to move the cursor. The coordinates of the first column on the second line are 0, 1, and we're going to use the function lcd.setCursor to move the cursor to the proper place and tell it to write Magic 8-Ball. Now when you start the program, it'll say "Ask the Magic 8-Ball" on your screen. In the loop, you're going to check the first switch and then the switch first, and put the value of the switch state variable. We're going to use an if statement to determine if the switch is in a different position than it previously was. If it was in a different position than it was before and it is currently low, then it's time to choose a random reply. The random function returns a number based on the argument you provide it. To start, you'll have a total number of 8 different responses for the ball. Whenever the statement random 8 is called, it will give you a number between 0 and 7, and it's going to store that number in your reply variable. We're going to clear the screen with the function lcd.clear. This allows you to move the cursor. This also moves the cursor back to the location 0, 0. The first column in the first row of the LCD will print out the ball says and move to the cursor for the second cursor for the output. The switch statement executes different pieces of code depending on the value you give it. Each of these different pieces of code is called a case. Switch checks the value of the variable reply. Whatever value reply holds will determine the name case statement which is executed. Inside the case statement, code will be the name, but the message will be different. For example, if case 0 will print out yes, and after the lcd.print function, there's another command which will be break, and it will skip. And aside from the different messages, the last thing we'll do in the loop function is assign the switch state's value of the variable, which will be previous switch state, and that will enable you to track changes in the switch the next time the loop is ran. Once you have everything uploaded to your Uno, this is what you will have as an output. So if you shake the tilt switch or just adjust it once, you'll see the LCD results change each time because it's randomly selecting one of those 8 options. So you can ask it kind of questions and have the Magic 8-Ball output a random answer for you. And here's the potentiometer, and that's adjusting the LCD screen, whether it's going to show the brightness of it or it's going to be kind of invisible and very dim. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel for more content. I hope to see you guys in another video. See ya.